themselves, but get pretty solid seeding going into the main bracket. It's very important for both sides.
Totally. And the other thing that I'm looking at and thinking about with this team and combination is there's been kind of, I think, a little bit of a downside to Chinese Dota recently. I don't think, have won a match here in this second day, or at least been able to take a series. And I don't know if that's necessarily like play style or meta relevant things or what exactly is happening, but we'll see if VGJ can pull it back around for themselves now in this next round of play. MouseSports, on the other hand, haven't been able to follow them too much, but obviously they're in this sort of middle of the pack, and I think that that's better than some people might have expected from them, considering that they weren't having the best results leading up to this event.
Yeah, but nevertheless, they have a very active style. They are kind of specialists in their own way with each of these different heroes. And the one thing that I am a little bit worried about is that their drafts might be getting a bit projected. Very commonly picking a lot of the same things, and you see here just banning out the Keeper of the Light and the Legion Commander. This was a pretty much tried and true opener for them. Every single game that they've won in this group stage has been with a Legion Commander on Skylark's off lane. So now we're going to have to see if they can break that record, because they're not going to have that option in this game here. They will, however, have a Wisp, which is pretty interesting. Some of the teams have been banning against them, so I assume they've been running it in scrims. They actually haven't run it in about 3 to 6 months, so they used to play it a lot, and it was just something that Spartan was really good at, but in the past 2 or 3 months, they really haven't picked it up in a competitive session. So I'm assuming they scrimmed it, run it, practiced it, and are very confident going with the opener here with the Io and the Ember.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of mobility. You end up having either the Ember Spirit building into those bots a little bit later on, or even just his natural kit of having that remnant available to hop back into and around the lanes. But Team VGJ going to be going for their Omni Knight tree opening. They've run these two heroes 2 times apiece, and we've seen the potential coming out of it as ROTK is certainly a menace on this Omni Knight.
Yeah, if he doesn't get the Abaddon, he loves to pick up the Omni Knight as a secondary option here. Fits the meta pretty well as far as what you're expecting from an offlaner nowadays. And the Treant will definitely bring the control they need. I mean, even the root from the Overgrowth can actually lock down the Ember Spirit nowadays, so pretty solid. But I still prefer the Ember against the Treant, and I think that matchup is really strong just because of all these damage over time effects. The Living Armor is not going to be nearly as effective on heroes, still going to be preventing the push quite effectively, and that allows VGJ to go a bit greedy, go for some late game action. Any kind of glass cannon hero here is still going to be kept pretty healthy by the Treant and the Omni. So I think across the board, both teams are pretty clear on what is going to be happening in this game. VGJ, they're really going to be building up a kind of hard-hitting carry to go into the mid to late game, and MouseSports, they're going to try to be mobile and active. Now, most of the time, you see an Ember Spirit, you think mid lane, but for MouseSports, it's actually a bit different. Madara has been running the Ember Spirit almost exclusively in the safe lane, while Thug picks up a pretty good heavy hitter in the mid, either the OD, maybe we can see the Lina, just various heroes that fit his repertoire and his tempo. So safe lane Ember Spirit still builds magical, but it is going to be a very different item timing.
Totally. And we saw the other day, too, that there was some strong play coming out when Freeze picked up his Storm Spirit. There was also one game, I believe, where it was aggressive playing on a PA. You talk about those glass cannon builds, and it's certainly something that could work well with the Omni Knight and the Treant Protector. And then, depending upon what they want to go for, maybe Team VGJ hasn't been noticing that Ember's been run in the safe lane as often. They not have that same knowledge of MouseSports since it's in a different region, but we'll have to see. Now the Warlock banned out now, as well as the Morphling, so they are still banning out safe laners. We'll see if Mouse can take advantage of this.
I think they can. I think that Thug will be able to get the OD that he's most likely looking for here. Io and OD is a really powerful pairing, just because the hero really just needs a little bit of extra movement speed, but mostly the effective HP and attack speed that comes from the overcharge. And if you can just keep the OD alive and hitting, he can do a lot of work. Sure, one target might be repelled, and that'll be a bit annoying since you can't dispel it in any way anymore, but all the other 4 heroes should be ripe for the taking. And I think they're still very confident picking up an OD for their third.
Well, and for VGJ, they do still have another round of bans. Maybe they end up taking out the other heroes that could pair well with an IO in terms of supporting roles, because that is one thing that you might end up lacking a little bit. If you send that IO and the OD or whatever end up sticking in that lane with Mouse, Does that leave your safe lane maybe a little bit exposed? Do you need like a really strong laning hero, a la the Witch Doctor, or maybe something else along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the Omni Knight to really bully his way in. Omni Knight early on, just if he gets even a little bit of leverage, gets a level 2 or level 3 early, he can be pretty annoying in the lane. RTK is known for it. He gets a little bit of help, say, from Fenrir roaming towards the bottom lane, and then the pressure is on, and the Wisp isn't the best hero to deal with it. So overall, I do think that they definitely need to dip into something that can really slug it out into the safe lane and fight there. But I mean, there's so many different supports that can do that, and maybe next time is probably one of the most versatile players on the team. Like, he has got a repertoire for pretty much every 4-position support you can think of.
Well, right now, 4th ban coming out. They took the silencer away. There's still a lot of those traditional IO counters. You could think about going for something like an Enigma, maybe for VGJ. Actually, it's probably a little bit too bold at this stage. Maybe like a Wyvern or a... they could take the Witch Doctor themselves as the other one. Disruptor is another pool that I think that VGJ has shown a willingness to run a lot of times.
Yeah, I would love a Disruptor here, actually. I think that one fits the bill more than any of the others. Just being able to really be effective in the lane, lock down the Ember Spirit in a way that no other hero can, and I'd love to see it. We have seen Ember Spirits more often building BKBs as like a 3rd or 4th item than they used to, but it's still going to be a great pickup if they want to run it. Either way, though, they've got some time to think about it. They are dipping into the reserve time for this 4th ban here, really trying to reevaluate what they want to take out in terms of, are they still going to be banning those safe lane carries? Are they actually going to be going and taking out that OD? We'll have to see. A Bristle pack of all things. Interesting. IO Bristle is something that you got to see really pioneered by MVP Phoenix. I think there's like a dream hack where they just ran over opponents over and over, and we got to see it like every patch since then. Bristle's been buffed a number of times, so is a threat, but we are going to be seeing a quick grab of the Rubik for maybe next time, and the Vengeful Spear for VGJ.
Wow, so a couple of really cool things here. First of all, maybe next time still going to be on a playmaker with this Rubik pick. I love that decision there because it's going to be a hero that can help with the zoning if this is indeed going to be a relatively weaker safe lane, but then it also gives you that potential to have him still show off his stuff on a playmaking hero like the Rubik. And then for Venge, you could think about going more aggressive tempo since you have the Omnite and the Treant Protector and run this in a core role on aggressive, or if they wanted to, it's sort of a similar situation where you could have the Treant roaming around early and then Venge is that harder support that can ensure that your lane doesn't get ran down by a strong offlane hero coming out from Mouse. So all in all, good couple of picks. I kind of like the idea of the VGJ draft going maybe earlier tempo and running Venge core just because of the unpredictability of IO in the late game.
For sure. I mean, right now we've only seen one vengeful pick from them in this group stage, and it was as a support, but like you said, it's versatile. It could go either way, so I'm very interested to see exactly what we're looking at there. And we are going to be seeing the Weaver select, which it makes me think a little bit more towards Madara here. I think, obviously, like I said, they've been winning a lot with the Madara Ember Spirit in the safe lane, but the hero's more naturally inclined to go towards that mid. So if they can make this work with the Weaver IO and get Madara farmed up that way, he has a lot of experience on that hero too. And it's, I think, a better laner against the Omni Treant, which is going to be pressuring bottom.
Okay. And now Shadow Fiend taken, just filling that role even further of having the big, heavy right-click damage-dealing heroes. Still could go for something, like the last pick. I guess another range hero, or just another like Juggernaut or Lifestealer or Troll. Any of those could work, but I still like the idea of the early tempo of Avenge. We'll see if that's what they want to go for. Disruptor banned out, the natural pick that we had said would be a good one. Still leaving in, heroes like that Witch Doctor or the Winter Wyvern if they want to take it.
Yeah, and I do like the idea that they're at least spending on a support here where Venge, Treant, Omni are all picked up. They're at least considering that option of that tempo core in the Vengeful Spirit. So, I mean, you think Vengeful Spirit, Shadow Fiend, and Omni Knight, these are heroes that, at the 15-minute mark, can be walking down your tier 2s. Like, they have a lot of fight potential and a lot of damage potential at the earlier stages of the game. So, good on MouseSports to at least consider the alternative here, no matter what the Vengeful Spirit ends up being in terms of roles. VGJ only have 23 seconds here in reserve time. They go for the PA. We got to see this yesterday, a very solid pairing with the Omni Knight, with the Treant living armor on top. She's going to be very healthy and very active.
Yeah, and I mean, just repel, jump in, blow people up. It's going to be kind of hard to stay, stuck onto the Ember or the Weaver. Granted, maybe that's where the Treant Protector is going to be able to help you out. You get a good overgrowth off, and if one of those hits in these fights, PA should just be able to blow up these relatively squishy cores, even though they're incredibly high damage. They're just gone in an instant. Relocate's not going to be able to save you.
We'll see Spartan's pick here in the next 5 seconds. For the offlane, it's going to be the Bat Rider, which is kind of something that we haven't seen much of in recent times. Obviously, was a hero that for the longest period was considered like the just tried and true, does everything, gets you vision, gets you control, is able to really just isolate good targets. But you're picking it into a Vengeful Spirit, which has that Nether Swap, can break the lasso immediately, and it does come with some risk for sure. So I'll be interested to see how he's going to be able to do it in the off lane, maybe transitioning a bit into the jungle, and what he's going to be able to accomplish overall. These drafts are pretty even to an extent. I think VGJ might have a bit of an edge here, unless I think MouseSports have to outplay VGJ, where VGJ's lineup is just so easy to execute.
All right, well, here we go into game number 1. VGJ facing off against MouseSports. And certainly a lot on the line for these teams. You want to make sure that you get decent seeding in this incredibly contentious best-of-1 series, which, of course, last time around, MouseSports, formerly Ad Finum, they had a great time with it. But do you feel like there's any core heroes that's really important that either team really needs to get online? Or is it basically is there not that sort of single-mindedness with a particular hero?
Yeah, I mean, Weaver and PA's farm is equally important. I would say, obviously, the Blink Dagger timing for Bat Rider is always very relevant, but my eyes are going to be actually on maybe next time's Rubik. There's so much spell steal potential, whether you grab Overgrowth, Guardian Angel in the fights, you can really do a lot with a Rubik in this context, and I really want to see if he can pull out some big spells and find some good opportunities. So something like a Blink Dagger for him, or any kind of momentum for him, would enable him to use this spell set even better. So I'm looking for him to make some plays happen, but in general, I do think, VGJ going to be putting out a lot of pressure in the lanes, and MouseSports as a whole are going to be scrambling to pick up farm.
I'm just doing those little predictions. Always got to make sure that those come out right. There's some interesting ones there, but regardless, early movement across the map, and this is something that I was kind of curious if we're going to be seeing the Skylark and Spartan hanging out together in this lane. There's a good possibility for aggression, since you know that the tree isn't going to necessarily be sticking around the entire time. Fenrir on this Treant Protector might be looking to move and try and pressure the Weaver. So I imagine that the Wisp could switch between helping out Thug in the mid and also helping out Skylark in that off lane, and then really put the pressure to these other mid lanes.
Yeah, we'll have to see. For right now, I do think that Fenrir is going to, with that Orb of Venom start, just going to look to bully the supports that are on the Radiant bottom lane. Whether they're trying to go for pulls or anything, they're very slow heroes, and I do think that it could be exploited, especially with this early smoke movement.
Trying to find it. FY is going to be able to get into range. Not quite there for the stun, though. We'll be able to throw it onto Madara, but obviously, with that Sakuchi, Madara's not even actually leveling it. He's confident in his ability to hit 2 buttons pretty quickly. But yeah, they're not going to be able to find it, and maybe even can find the stun. Okay, Madara taking a little bit of damage, but they're just going to back out. And in the meantime, up in the top lane, we did see ROTK take the bounty rune as well. So 3 bounty runes going to the side of VGJ.
Great start for them, but they did have to burn a sentry. I like the fact that Madara at least showed that he was going for the bounty rune just to force out that sentry ward, and immediately backed off with no repercussions. So at least pull some money out of the bench's pocket in the process. And that sentry ward isn't going to be available for the laning phase.
Looks like also maybe next time here, he is going to scout out that, oh, he's actually going to body block the large camp and then realize the small camp is taken down as well. So we'll see if maybe next time he's going to be able to get the D ward himself, or if it's just going to let it sit for the moment. As aggressive, going for the aggro lane with FY. Do you like this decision by VGJ?
Well, it's going to be pretty interesting because the matchup between the Omni Knight and the Bat Rider will be very back and forth. You see already the Magic Stick up to the Omni Knight. I think RTK will actually do pretty well here. He can obviously deal with the spell set of the Bat Rider with the Repel, and then he has the stick charges to keep his mana sustained. I actually do think that while they're not going to be like shutting down Madara, it's just not going to happen since he's a Weaver. I do think that they're going to be able to do more in the top lane than they would have and keep Fenrir active on mid. So it turns into this kind of 2-2-1 situation where they're breaking even bottom and they're actually able to do really well in mid and top.
Okay. I like it. I really like this D ward that maybe next time places as well. It catches a lot of the normal spots that you would see, with the exception of just this right-hand side, and he caught the one that was up on the cliff there. So gets the camp dewarded, does still need to contend with the pull that FY was able to get. And as for now, the laning stage just ending off fairly equal. The only problem is that Freeze right now is staying at 3-0 on the Shadow Fiend, and this is what will end up happening if you're getting dual laned.
Yeah, they expected that though, with the Wisp coming through, getting the early bottle here. There's going to be pressure back and forth, but Fenrir has been able to put some good damage into Thug and make it not completely one-sided. That being said, these early Necromancer charges for Freeze are very important. He gets a critical deny on the range creep under tower, and yeah, he's going to be starting to swing back into the lane.
Okay. Down bottom, still a lot of pressure being mounted onto Madara. Does have the full wand completed at this point, but with FY in the area and aggressive here as well, there's a lot of potential for damage early on, so needs to be careful and make sure he doesn't get caught out, since Rubik has completely left the lane at this stage and is actually doing the baby next time. He's going for a courier snipe. Wants to play bounty hunter, but I realize he's not going to be able to be there in time.
Yeah, Rubik is a 290 movement speed hero, so it's very difficult to find some good positions, but you know, looking to see if the bounty room is picked up, maybe if he can find anything else in that area while he's really not doing anything else on the other sides. But Freeze taking a lot of damage here, and under tower Thug will just get the leech seed and back off.
Yeah, you can see as well Skylark stacking up the off-lane camps, wants to make sure to be able to accelerate that farm in towards an early item. Occasionally we've been seeing the drums get picked up more and more often for Bat Riders. Is this a game where you would like that, or do you think they have enough burst damage to make use of an early blink, as we do catch that first blood on a Spartan mid?
Yeah, just a little too far extended there and can't get the tether back. But yeah, I could see very effectively just going, because again, the swap is still always going to be there pretty early on this game. I have to say that movement speed is going to be the key thing, and if he can just kind of run people over, whether he has them lassoed or not, I would actually say that, yeah, just focusing on the early movement speed builds, like with the Drum of Endurance, would probably be my preference here, but of course either one will work. The first blood on mid is pretty unfortunate. Losing out Spartan this early on does give some momentum for Freeze here in the lane phase, and it kind of shores up one lane that VGJ were kind of starting to worry about. They were doing better than I expected on the bottom lane, but Freeze needed a little bit of a helping hand, and that certainly is one of those. Yeah.
Again, the VGJ's lineup has been able to pretty consistently get these pulls off here, so now the creep's pushing in towards their tower. Aggressive is going to be able to farm it up a little bit.
Actually, kind of was in a dangerous spot, but able to make his movement away with the help of the dire creep vision, so he'll be perfectly fine. And yeah, it'll just be a bit of a reset here.
Mid lane, Freeze taking a good bit of damage. They're trying to go for it. The ball's not quite able to be enough to find the kill, as unfortunately Spartan only level 1 on the spirits.
Seems to be all right though. They're going to be able to trade like that pretty effectively, because they can just go ahead and bottle up right after the fact, or they can go for the double shrine play if they get really low. So I feel like this mid lane just has a lot more options in terms of sustaining themselves, whereas the Shadow Fiend just has to go back all the way to base.
All right, and Madara in the meantime still kind of being hemmed in as far as his farm is concerned. 18-2 compared to the 27-7 of aggressive. This is not where he would love to be at this point. And I don't know, it feels like the trade-off, I guess, is Ember having a little bit better time, as maybe next time is just going to end up dropping here. I don't know. How do you feel like Mouse feels about their laning stage right now?
Their bottom lane is really shaky. I thought that they'd commit a little bit more to try to make this work for themselves. It seems like they've mostly just left Madara on his own, and obviously that's just a losing situation here, and now losing the Rubik on top of that. The 2 kills that have already happened aren't the end of the world, but just the fact that Madara is going to have such a slow start and Aggressive is going to have such a good one is going to be one of the bigger issues. The Bat Rider, Skylark, starts to kind of cut the waves and get himself up to level 6 here. We'll have to see if he decides to go for lasso at 6 or not. But either way, he's got the opportunity with this Tranquil.
Ooh, this is a nice play, though. Yeah, he's going to try and go for this and see if they can catch the Shadow Fiend, who they know is going to be farming up and freeze, making his movement in towards the jungle. They have found him and going to be able to run him down. Can't commit the lasso now, and freeze going to end up falling. Good combo coming out from Mouse as they just need to make their retreat now.
That's the question, is can they get away? That Skylark's going to be able to just go ahead for the TP here. No way to stop it. And Spartan's the one that's left in no man's land.
Yeah, that Nature's guy is not able to get any bashes off because he wasn't in the invis form, so a nice pickup right there, and it looks like Spartan will also be able to make the retreat. Can probably tether back to the Ember.
Yeah, can tether back to the Batrider if he comes a little bit closer, but in the meantime it is going to be a pickup on the Vengeful Spirit down bottom, where they're just able to kind of run him down with Vengeful Spirit out of position.
Yeah. So ROTK still getting a lot out of this lane, as we've talked about, or rather aggressive, able to get a lot out of this lane, but you do end up losing your supports every now and then just because of how much damage we've been able to see come out from Madara, and maybe next time. But nonetheless, it is still going to be ROTK who's leading the CS boards and almost has his hand of Midas done. We talked about the desire to go for Midases over mechanisms early on Omni Knights nowadays. Do you like the choice in this context of this game?
It just means that they know that the game is not going to be a short one, that they know that they want to extend this game out a little bit rather than go for the full death ball. Obviously, there have been really early tempo setups from heroes like Omni Knight and Shadow Fiend. In fact, there were times where Shadow Fiend would even be the one buying the mechanism, but this is not what they're looking for in this game. They're looking to kind of spread it out, get some good farm on all 5 of their heroes before they start knocking down towers. And so RTK just says, oh, well, I'll do my part and go ahead and start off with the Hand of Midas. I mean, this item pays for itself in about 14 minutes game time, so it is going to be still very effective and in terms of accelerating RTK's overall value in this game.
Oh, Thug bottles up the haste rune, and it's going to catch Fenrir now as well. They had a ward in the area to scout this all out, so playing around the raise, Spartan is going to end up falling. So you have the jump forward from aggressive, and now Thug trying to run away, but will he be able to make the escape? You think that you're so survivable with the haster, and it looks like this time indeed he will be.
Yep, but just ends up being a 1-for-1 in terms of supports as the Wisp get caught in the middle, and yeah, just good focus forward coming from VGJ to make it a pretty even exchange. They will try to make a rotation as well onto Skylark as Firefly is gone, but can they get in range for that Stifling Dagger?
They are going to not quite get there, as he would have been at the shrine regardless, and TP's going to come to make sure that Skylark doesn't go down there. So across the board, you take a look, Mouse set up at about 1,500 net worth lead and roughly 2,000 experience as well. So not a bad start in the least bit for them.
Yeah, it's actually the other 2 lanes, because they brought the Wisp to the mid and kept him there instead of trying to deal with the lane bottom. They kind of sacrificed Madara's early farm a little bit, but they got Thug what he needed in the mid lane against the Shadow Fiend. And now the Shadow Fiend is in a really rough spot. I mean, 2,700 net worth here. Freeze, he talked about his early CS, and he really never recovered from that. The continuous pressure of the Ember and the Wisp, even after a death or 2, just able to continuously put the pressure on and make it so that Freeze has to passively farm the jungle. It of course also helps that Skylark found that opening when he hit level 6 and got to kill off the Shadow Fiend for that one time.
Well, and this is kind of a unique little thing too. We've obviously seen a lot of Tranquil Boots over time on Batriders, and I think that this has been made even more good recently because now you're adding a windlace into it instead of the Ring of Protection. So you get a little bit more movement speed. So in a lot of ways, now you can get the same value in some ways that you did from a drum, but out of just the Tranquil Boots, and now you can go straight in for that Blink Dagger. So still high movement speed, but able to get into an item that's going to allow them to find kills.
Yeah, Tranquil Boots is a lot better on Batrider, to be honest now. It's just like, yeah, you don't get as much survivability, but you're always in the position you want to be in. And I feel they can go for some really good plays now. At this point in time, since they have Lasso off cooldown and the Relocate up and available for the Wisp, all Skylark has to do is find somebody. That Blink turns into a Blink Lasso and turns into a Relocate, turns into a kill. And they can just pretty much cycle that on cooldown of 90 seconds.
Yeah, and it does look like the Batrider smoked up and getting ready to head in. There's a Shadow Fiend that's TPing into the mid lane. Freeze. Don't think he realizes what's coming his direction, and there's going to be the jump forward. Lasso connects and Freeze. Not long for this world. No way out of that one.
Yeah, and they don't even need to like relocate it. They already have the heroes in the right place at the right time. So while this tower chip damage will be pretty minimal, it still will be another key kill. This Shadow Fiend is having a rough game, and it's only going to get harder from here.
You did see a kill in the bottom lane. ROTK able to find one onto maybe next time. So that does at least apply some pressure onto the bottom tier 1 tower of the Radiant. But in the meantime, Madara takes the top tier 1 as well. So across the map, MouseSports making plays, and a relocate into the jungle as well. They found FY. He's going to go down also, and they're going to be able to take this camp.
Yeah, some real dominance here. Just Skylark being able to walk over the enemy side and find these opportunities. They're going to pull Thug out at this point in time, so only leaving the minimal mud golems and pretty much putting a flag on the Dire side and saying this is theirs. Got to be careful, obviously, with the shrine active and nearby, but they just go ahead, drop a couple of observers. Expect one maybe to be dewarded or expire soon, but in general, they've had really good control over this area of the map, and they take their farm and leave.
So, great start to this game for MouseSports, and they're up at about 2,500 net worth, 3,000 experience. They've been able to take down a tier 1 tower in the top lane and bring the mid one down fairly low as well. If you're VGJ at this point, how do you start respond to this all-out aggression? Do you need to think about trying to group up a little bit more, or do you just wait until you get your items up first before that?
I think that you still have to kind of focus on spreading things out until you have the mechanism. You're really not going to be able to take objectives without it, I would say. You also need to prioritize getting the Spengeful's levels up. I don't know what happened to the Tome of Knowledge, but FY is still actually technically level 4. We did have Fenrir stalking up Rubik for a long time, so kind of gets the call to arms down bottom where they do end up getting that kill. But in the meantime, Madara just kind of pokes up at the top lane and maybe even could set up a kill onto RTK if Skylark makes the right move.
Yeah, they do have the Wisp in the area, and relocate is up in 5 seconds, so that might be something in their thoughts. As ROTK did just use Repel a second ago, still has another one, but they're instead just going to focus on taking down that tower, at least for now. And now the call comes to think about going for ROTK.
Yep, he's going to be TPing up, and not going to be able to cancel that one out, but they still are just in a very solid position in terms of just an aggressive stance here. Trading tier 1 tower for tier 1 tower. This bottom tier 1 really doesn't matter much for MouseSports at all. It's more of a hindrance than anything, and seeing the CD Rune Shadow Fiend take it down, it's not going to give them too many issues. They have global mobility here. They have a very fast Bat Rider. They have the relocate, that actually like 4 different heroes that have really good ways of getting around the map. So being just kind of hung up and defending that bottom tower is not what they want to do all game.
And you have Fenrir that's here to try and, punish if anybody does go down to the bottom tower, but like you said, nobody is even interested in trying to mess with the tier 2 since they know that there's not going to be a concerted effort to try and take it down, and in the meantime, Mouse can just take over this jungle even further than they had been before. As ROTK steps up, he is going to be walking right into a hell of a lot of trouble if they decide to take this fight. Radiant going to scan out, see that there is one behind, and it looks like Skylark will not decide to go as of yet, although a little bit of indecision. They're thinking about it. Skylark pops the Firefly. There's ROTK gonna get jumped, pulled back in. Madara's starting to deal the damage. The TPs are starting to show up from the Shadow Fiend, and it looks like Spartan gonna be pushed back, but they've caught aggressive. He's gonna fall. And Freeze pops the ultimate, but they've already killed off several. And honestly, with Thug here now as well, popping the Arcane Rune, they have the chains. Triple Remnant forward, trying to bring them down low. They get the time lapse back, and the IO relocate a little bit off the mark there is going to keep him alive, but he didn't pull back anybody with him. Madara in trouble now and is going to fall. So at the end of the day, the score ends up tilting a little bit further into VGJ.
Not done yet.
Going in for this one. They have maybe next time. Has a Fade Bolt here if he wants to go for it. Almost going to be able to bring him down. They are going to be able to find that double kill for Freeze, though. And now the swap, it's not enough. They still end up losing that. Shadow Fiend Thug barely staying alive. Is going to fall, but aggressive, standing tall as well. Can they bring him down? They need the balls on point. Then it's going to be there. A triple kill for Spartan, the most manly of Wisps from the Army Man himself.
Superman himself coming in and leading things up, the last Wisp standing here, and that really comes down to just the movement of the Bat Rider in my mind. I mean, the initial lasso was not very effective because of the fact that the Omni Knight just finished a mechanism, was able to survive, but a little bit of an overextension for the PA initially, goes down there, and then from there, the Bat Rider gets to move around back and forth into the fight. Gets 2 Fireflies out for the duration of the fight, gets a lot of napalm, and just keeps on blinking in right on top of people. So able to do a lot of work there. I gotta say, Skylark putting out some major damage and some good burst as well from Thug. So across the board, it wasn't a conclusive fight in terms of hero kills, but of course they got the tier 2 on top of that, lending MouseSports to a very significant net worth lead.
And it's nuts to me right now, but Spartan has the most kills in the game. He's 6-2-4. He's been involved with all but one of the kills for MouseSports.
I was looking at his gold count before that fight, and it was extremely minimal. Like, he had maybe like
he's going minus
gold, and was like, oh, I'll get an arcane boots eventually. But no, he's changed his trajectory quite a bit in the scope of just one fight. He's gonna find himself a Midas here at like the 17-18 minute mark, and he's gonna be rolling in it pretty soon.
Oh my god, what do you do with that? You have the hand of Midas at the 16-minute mark for Spartan. What are you hoping to build into later for IO? Is it about the levels maybe? I don't know.
Oh, I mean everything. Like you can get so much on him. I mean, obviously your bread and butter is going to be your Guardian Greaves, your Mechanism and Arcane Boots, but long term you want a Heart of Tarrasque. Like that is your late game mode where you can just be this walking fountain. You just hit overcharge tether and suddenly somebody's generating full HP. Like you have so much potential staying power with these kinds of items, and if Wisp being naturally a strength hero, it actually is pretty ridiculous when he has something like that.
This is great. I love it. Well, MouseSports certainly continue to impress with their always exciting play style. And maybe next time, we haven't talked a ton about the heroes in this game, but he's got a bunch of good spells to steal, particularly anything coming by virtue of the Omni Knight, and even more so since you have the Wisp in the game.
Yeah, most definitely. The Omni Knight and the Treant Protector are the big spell skills here, I think. Trying to get Overgrowth and Fight is pretty reliable, but it just comes down to positioning and making sure that the Rubik is in the right place at the right time for it.
Ooh.
They were trying to make it go on Madara, but it looks like he did escape at least once.
Smoking
right
red.
up a freeze, though. He has got to realize that there's too much going on.
Maybe next time in the mid lane, he's going to die as well, as they have been able to find him. And yeah, it looks like Madara will get away with his life, but the rest of them going to be chased down. Spartan getting stunned, trying to get out of there. He is going to walk away. Fenrir, can he actually kill him off here? They should be able to. Spartan, nobody around to help him, and ROTK is the one that picks up the kill.
Yeah, really awkward position there. Thug was trying to kind of give him a tether target, but yeah, he was just kind of in panic mode and ends up pulling himself further behind enemy lines without a TP scroll. So if he had a scroll, I think it would have been fine, but no, ends up getting caught in a really bad spot. And yeah, from there, that is going to be some valuable kills for VGJ. I mean, they did just finish up. They get the Guardian Greaves now on RTK, as along with the Hand of Midas. Getting a couple of key kills here and moving forward in momentum is a really big deal for their team.
Funny stuff. I don't think that a Mechanism would have saved the IO there, but I feel like we're just constantly going to be coming back to that Hand of Midas throughout this cast, talking about it. Madara trying to kill off this tower, does look to be able to get it, as there will most likely be a well, maybe they don't deny it. Maybe it's just going to be time for Treant to keep on healing it up.
Yep, if you can, you definitely should. And in this case here, the one thing that Living Armor is really good for this game is healing up the towers. Against for the heroes, between the Batrider or the Ember Spirit, you're not going to get much, but I do definitely think that the towers will have some good sustain.
Madara, almost ends up going down there. Then Raze ends up hitting the second time through. Still does have stick charges, needs to go for the TP, and is going to be able to escape. That was super close, though.
Yeah, definitely. But good movement there from Madara, and he's going to be fine. We'll be moving in towards the Desolator, which is actually already up for aggressive, going in for BKB next. So interesting to see two BKBs coming out, one for the Shadow Fiend and one for the TA when you've got the Omni Knight on your team, who's already maxed out his repel to the full 7 seconds. But at the end of the day, it seems like there's just so much magical damage, particularly from a Thug, that they just don't want to deal with it. And they're going to go ahead and pick up those defensive items.
And they need to make sure that they're capable of getting those fighting items online, and you need at least one for both of them, because, you know, if you happen to need to BKB both, then I don't know, Omni Knight can only do so much in the midst of a fight. And it's certainly been a situation where Mouse have been the ones taking those engagements, although it's kind of pulled back a little bit more into Vichi's favor afterwards. We haven't seen too many more of the relocate ganks as of yet. Maybe going to see some more plays from Skylark going for smoke rotations, but in the meantime, it's Milner, or rather Maelstrom, done for Thug, and he is going to continue to accelerate and farm.
Yeah, one thing I will note is that a lot of the plays that have been on the Dire side most recently have been very ineffective for MouseSports, so maybe they're a little bit cautious, just realizing that They can't constantly be playing in the enemy side, and a big reason for that is all these wards. There were like a line of 4 different dire observer wards, just kind of putting a perimeter around the jungle and trying to get full control of this area that MouseSports has controlled all game.
Ooh, Skylark gonna have to blink away. It does actually get force-tapped in. The swap comes back out to make sure they get the stun on the Skylark. Nicely done by FY to put himself in position, and they bring down that Batrider. So no Batrider, no Wisp.
Down. Freeze just walks up with the Shadow Blade and is able to take out half his health just with the auto attack alone. This is a very squishy Wisp at this stage, and they're just going to go right into Roshan with the Wave of Terror. They're actually going to be able to bring it down very quickly.
All right. This is a scary situation now. Ember can go for the cutting of the creep wave, and they're dealing a good bit of damage to the tier 2. Meanwhile, you also have the Deso Weaver that's starting to be able to bring down the bottom tier 2 tower and not quite finishing it off, though it is still very low. And now a couple more hits. Madara takes it down. Should be able to TP out of there afterwards, in spite of the Aegis into the hands of VGJ.
So just at this point in time, this Aegis is going to allow them to start playing much more what their lineup is kind of designating in the first place, which is that Death Ball style. A little bit harder with the armor accruing on the towers as they try to seize them with more and more heroes, but still going to be in a position where they can take pretty much any fight. As long as FY is quick on the swap here, I definitely think that they can pretty much deal with any 5-on-5 thanks to that Aegis the Immortal.
I guess the problem, though, is you do still have to worry about the split push that's coming since Madara is already at their tier 3 towers, so they'll be able to get the tier 1s. That's 2 tier 1s taken for VGJ now. And it looks like also the dagger will be following away onto Ember Spirit, eventually hitting. But
look at this play bottom, though. They are looking for an opening. Freeze is going to pop himself out. Do they have enough damage? I mean, if they relocate, they definitely do.
they're certainly thinking about it. There's going to be the jump forward. Freeze now in some trouble. They're relocating him in. That's going to end up being a kill, and FY now also in a little bit of trouble if he sticks around. Looks like Mouse is just going to back out, but nowhere is safe right now for VGJ.
That's MouseSports Dota, man. Diving into tier 3 with a full relocate and lasso at 23 minutes. Love it. That is exactly what they want to do, to strike fear into the Shadow Fiend and the PA, making them realize that just no place is safe. And no matter what hero showed up there, they pretty much are all dead. Any one of them wouldn't have survived that unless the Vengeful Spirit was right there to swap back. And it just it goes to show that the gank presence and the initiation potential from MouseSports right now is just really tough to deal with.
Well, the repel now onto PA, turning onto Spartan. The Spartan is pretty tanky, and now with the repel on him as well, not going to be able to do any of the magical damage through it. Madara going to be able to time-lapse away. The stun is going to connect onto Thug, but he's outside of range for anybody to get onto him. Maybe next time, lifting up on the PA as well. There's the chains on it too. Overgrowth trying to turn this. Madara's still alive, though. Maybe next time is going to fall, but that's it for now. Freeze walking in, right-click, another one, and they take down Spartan. So a double kill for Aggressive. And MouseSports may have overstepped their welcome a little bit too long.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they continued that fight against the PA. Like, it was kind of a gradual disengage where everybody's trying to get themselves out and get their buddies out as well. But at the end of the day, maybe just start running instead of trying to keep throwing spells back, because in the end, they did stick around a really long time, and Aggressive is just in a great position right now in this game. He still has that Aegis. He just got the BKB. Like, he's got the Omni Knight behind him. There's really nothing to stop Aggressive from chasing you all the way to your base.
Well, and I hate to be this guy, but if this was a mechanism on the IO instead of a Hand of Midas,
okay,
would it have changed the situation at all as the towers are starting to drop down?
I mean, obviously, Mechanism is better on Wisp than it is on pretty much any other hero. Oh, they're going again.
Yeah, they dive it in.
Off, though. I think he's okay.
Yeah, they're just going to back out. But yeah, go ahead about Mech on IO here. So it does look like they'll be able to make the escape.
But yeah, so with that, you know, obviously Mechanism usually heals for 250. With a tether heal, it actually heals the target that he's tethering by up to 625, which is really strong. Only Oracle can double it with his False Promise, but Wisp is definitely the best mech carry in the game. So you look at that item's value and you say, well, why not? And I definitely understand where you're coming from. We'll have to see if he can really get anywhere in the long term and how long this game really ends up lasting for it to really create the value. Because it's not just the the actual item itself in terms of like getting gold back for the Hand of Midas, it's also going to be talents. Like he gets faster experience gains, he gets this extra mana regen or health regen or whatever he picks for his level 25, I guess the respawn time. It's just going to be more and more value as the game goes on. So it does suck now. It might cost them 1 or 2 deaths, but in the end, I think Spartan is still pretty happy with this purchase. Okay,
I'm with you. So you also saw the maybe next time pick one up as well. It's certainly the patch of it. 3 Midases online for the side of MouseSports. And the thing that's sort of surprising to me about it, I guess, is that normally teams that have been picking up these items will then play passively, but it feels like Mouse is really trying to get aggressive, still diving the tier 3 towers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's actually that's gonna be a dead Weaver. Yeah, nice setup, good smoke rotation, and just enough burst damage to make it work as the Aegis expires here. But yeah, I mean, these are obviously they're not looking to take a fight, right? They're not like doing a dedicated siege or a well, obviously Roche is dead, but just going in for like these full-on engagements. They're just looking for these little quick picks that Skylark happens to find, and otherwise just kind of moving around the map and waiting out this Aegis, which is now expired. So yeah, MouseSports are taking an aggressive stance where they're making things happen, but in a very intelligent way where they can kind of just keep their Midas cooldowns rolling, but also make use of the relocate and the Flaming Lasso.
Look at this. They're almost in a way trying to bait out this movement. FY is there to break it. Immediately going to go, oh no, they jump on FY instead. Now Freeze going to get lifted. Who's baiting what? I thought it was fish in the barrel, but they became the fish. And now Mouse, they're in a good position to start mounting another aggressive play here.
What a great time to have a Geometry Sight, and of course just to find the Vengeful Spirit waiting in the tree line. Just perfect patience from Skylark and finding the exact target he needed to set that one up. Now, I don't think they'll be able to break the top tier 3, but I mean it's already a little bit wounded, so you never know.
No, relocate bottom. This is the play right here. All right, now in the meantime, though, you are separated into 2, and Aggressive is going for a big play here, but nonetheless, they're going to be able to force out at least the first clip. Aggressive takes down maybe next time. They also kill off the Courier. Now as the IO comes back in, Spartan going invis for the moment. They don't have any reveal. Aggressive, what are you going to do here? The BKB is down, and it looks like they will be able to make a tether movement away. Spartan staying alive long enough to get the rest of his team out of there, so looks like the Weaver, in the meantime, not able to do tremendous damage to that tower, but it was something.
Yeah, I mean, they got a glyph. They got multiple living armors down in this bottom one. I think it's more of a cute play than a very effective one in this context, but, I mean, BKB does go down to 8 seconds here from Aggressive as he just gets an easy crit on the Rubik. You see him queuing up the Blink and Ghost Scepter. I'd imagine he actually wants to Ghost Scepter first. Like, that's pretty much a must-have as a Rubik against PA in my book, but we'll see if he ends up trying to bank up and try to go for the utility item first and foremost. But end of the day, yeah, I'm not sure how much the BKB of Aggressive, the timer that is, really matters, because like you get dropped down to like a 6 or 5 second BKB, you're still gonna have a repel kind of rolling after that. So at the end of the day, I think Aggressive is still fine with just using it for the initial jump.
Okay. Yeah, and he's building now back into a Manta style, realizing he needs more answers to what is, I guess it's not entirely single target. It's like single target disable, but there's a good amount of magical damage coming in from the Ember as well. And
yeah, the big thing is the Searing Chains. He knows it's going to be really annoying as the time goes by, so he just wants to be able to kind of avoid that. He also, PA's illusions are one of the strongest in the games, just because you get the both the evasion passive and the crit built into them, so you can just kind of send them down a lane and they will absolutely clear everything out. So in general, pretty solid bread and butter item for Aggressive, and it's going to allow him to get out of a couple of tight spots.
I love the bots that have been purchased as well. Madara having 2 boots for his 2 feet, and it's come to the tune now of them continuing to take down towers. This is working out incredibly easy, like clockwork to Mouse. It still feels like VGJ, if it's a straight up 5-on-5 engagement, are so much stronger. But Mouse are just avoiding fights, finding pickoffs, and pushing in the lanes constantly. There's nothing that VGJ can do about this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they wanted to do pretty much all game long. They realized that when they picked the Batrider and the Wisp, they're like, okay, well, all we have to do is just find these kills every once in a while, play our game, farm our heroes, and build up to the next stage. And they previously they were just in the farming phase because they were dealing with an Aegis on the enemy side. Now I feel like they have to farm even further because there was a really good pickup for Freeze. He picked up a butterfly at a very early stage, and while a lot of people will question a third item butterfly here, it makes it so that it's actually pretty difficult to go right up against that hero. If he has repel on him, then he's going to be tanky against all the magical damage, and without an MKB, the Weaver really can't punch through that evasion as well. So I actually think this is a very smart decision from Freeze. He'll rely on RTK quite a bit to help him out, but he's going to be just doing so much damage to the fights, and he's going to be very difficult to bring down.
And I gotta say that, again, for everybody out there, in the context of what people expected coming into this, I think a couple of people were sort of questioning both of these teams as far as their direct invite status. VGJ not performing up to the expectations that we had for them after Starlighter at DAC, and then of course Ad Finum not really able to qualify for that many events, but they're proving here, particularly Mouse in my book, just how good of a team this still is, and a team that people have to prep for, because if you give them these types of heroes and allow them to play the style of game that they want, they're going to run away with it like they're doing in this game right now.
Yeah, you can definitely see at the very least why a few of the other teams were first banning Wisp against MouseSports, where they have such confidence with this hero, like, in a way that almost no other team does. Like, most teams you look at, they're not first ban Wisp type teams, but because there are so many great heroes. Like, there's Monkey King, obviously. The Treant Protector has really risen into a tier of his own, but Spartan is making this Wisp work wonders, and that is going to be just something that continues to be a threat, I think, throughout the main stage of the tournament. But we have continuous split push from Thug. He's going to be the one to look for the Shiva's Guard. Spartan does finish up his Glimmer Cape here, but I assume that VGJ will be looking for detection. In fact, they do have a gem on RTK, so answering gem for gem, now going to be a lot of true sight from both sides, and that means that both the Weaver and the Wisp have to be very careful.
Yeah, it's a hard one indeed, and I mean, thinking too, you've got all of these items for VGJ where they try and catch them out, like the Dust and Blink Dagger on Treant Protector. How many times have we seen Treant Protector go Midases in this game? I don't know if we've actually seen a Blink Dagger first on a tree throughout all the games of Treant Protector that we've had, and it just shows the way that they want to try and take these fights.
Yeah, it creates a lot of potential where you can just blink, get the bash out really quickly, and then go for Overgrowth Leaf Seed. Hopefully it doesn't get spell stolen, and you can really kind of allow the PA and the Shadow Fiend to do the damage they need to do, because that's the one big control spell they have. I mean, sure, you can slow your targets down, or you can Magic Missile them to stun them for a brief duration, but
here it is.
The big thing is the Overgrowth.
This is what they wanted now as well. Madara going to get caught, waited for the timeouts. What? They go the wrong direction. Now they found him, but he might be able to get away from this one. Is he going to be able to get Stucci off? No, but that is still the Aegis, and now Aggressive, having stuck around for a long time, they pop the BKB, looking for the catch. They're able to control him. Fenrir is down, and now two will be Aggressive. I do believe, maybe not. ROTK actually shows up. The Relocate is back out and away, and now Madara, he's going to be caught out, stunned for the moment. And the rest of the team just bailed out on him. Oh. What?
Nice swap back there on the Shikuchi. Makes it so that they keep him within the range of the Gem and True Sight, and they are able to beat that Weaver down. And a critical save on the PA as well, where she definitely would have gone down. But RTK has a dagger. He uses it to get in the perfect place at the perfect time to keep their cores alive and finally get the kill they were looking for on that Weaver, being brought down twice.
Well, it's a huge pickup there, certainly. And you can tell, if nothing else, to bring a little bit more of that momentum back into the favor of VGJ, because they need to try and go for, I guess, what would you say they need to do at this point? Do they need to start taking down the towers? Because it feels to me as if the longer this game goes on, the more potent the Mouse split push is going to become.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult no matter how you look at it, because as long as there's this constant lane pressure that Thug is producing, it kind of sets it up where you have to spread the map a little bit. And a spread map is one where Wisp Batrider really thrives, because you can always find a target to isolate and kill off. So with that in mind, VGJ, they do have to prioritize pushing out the lanes, but they have to do it methodically. They always have to have the Vengeful Spirit or the Omni Knight behind one of the cores that's farming. So you push out with Shadow Fiend, you push out with the PA, but you always have a support behind them, and try to find a way to bail them out as needed. So that being said, they obviously need to look for objectives next. They've brought down the Aegis. They kind of need to look for maybe 1 or 2 more items, and then they need to actually find a smoke play.
Okay. And it's also going to become more difficult as Madara's, finishing off the MKB. We're talking about it, and that early butterfly. Also, like, in some ways it's good because you're going to have the evasion from Shadow Fiend that allows them to stay alive in the fights, but now you have 2 heroes that are going to be countered by an MKB, which is, I don't know, still kind of tough there. And, well, levels are going up further. I'm still very excited to see the late game Wisp with a lot of farm on this hero. I haven't seen that in a long time. And he's been able to build now into, well, he had a Glimmer Cape a little while ago as well as a good bit of gold. Do you have something else on the courier?
Yeah, the mechanism's picked up.
Oh, jeez.
So he is going to be, he's now at where he was supposed to be maybe a few minutes ago, but now he's going to keep progressing and keep on building up towards something really massive. Already at level 16 and not really having to do too much. I mean, just relocate offensively every once in a while. Go ahead and farm up the jungle here and there, and it just turns into a real hero. Fenrir bashes out of the tree line very fast on his feet, forces out the early ultimate from Madara, but that should be enough to get him out.
Yeah, and no overgrowth at that instance to make sure that he stays alive, and that's the MKB done for Madara.
Yeah, I've actually not seen these new Tranquil Boots on the Max Nature's Guy's Treant, but man, is he fast. He's booking along 509 movement speed, and that's just from Tranquils.
Yeah, that is crazy fast. I mean, this is normally something that you would end up seeing go for the arcane boots, but that in combination with the blink makes him a very mobile hero.
Mm-hmm. Definitely quick to respond to tight spots, and I think that's exactly what they needed. They do see this, I guess you can call it an anti-tinker ward up on the high ground. The Batrider will close out. Both gems still on either side, though, so for the most part, any kind of like ground level observer wards are going to be found out pretty easily.
Well, Thug here is going to end up jumping away after clearing out the creep wave. We do also see Rubik with nature, or rather living armor, available to him. So this is a pretty good pickup. It's going to allow them to allow Ember to play a little bit more aggressive. You can also heal back up the towers if there is some chip damage done, although much less likely to happen from the team VGJ.
Batrider actually going for an Octarine Core, so short cooldowns on all of his spells. It's going to be just allowing him to do quite a lot in the team fights. The Napalm's still very relevant as the game goes on, but obviously just looking to continuously spam out that Flaming Lasso is also a really big deal. So we'll see. He's got 15% cooldown reduction from his talents, and he'll get another 25 from that item. So going to be putting himself in a nice little spot here. Big Time Weaver finishes the MKB, now looking for Scotty, and that's where things get very interesting. When you have the Eye of Scotty, MKB, Desolator Dragonlance, all of these really powerful items for any carry, but then you supplement it with a Wisp that is able to stay on the front lines, and with Overcharge, this is going to be a very, very difficult bug to squish.
That's definitely the case. It's not necessarily, it's been the glass cannon build so far from Madara, and even in spite of that, he's died 3 times, so it hasn't been the best in the world, but he's been able to make a lot of space for his team in those deaths. So far, Thug, they also might have an inclination that there's a ward up here on the high ground. Fenrir is scouting out Thug. This could be a tough one. Can aggressive kill him off? I don't think so.
Oh, and we've got like 3 heroes up top lane. We're just there, and the bench doesn't have a TP, so they really aren't in a position to react to too much. But they're playing that buddy system at the very least, allowing Freeze to keep moving out on the map. But they're going to encounter a lot more than they bargained for.
Yeah, FY, thinking about going there. They do scout them out, but now Skylark has the opening if you wanted to go for it. They're bringing in PA, they're bringing in the Treant. It looks like MouseSports, though, again going to avoid the fight, and instead just try and push in that bottom lane with Thug.
And they're in a great position to just keep playing the map. I mean, they still have the 3 Midases. They still have that constant pressure that cannot really be punished. I mean, I don't really see how you actually catch out this Ember Spray. He didn't even need to buy Lincoln Sphere. Like, there's just so few situations where he's actually going to get chain stunned long enough for him to actually get caught before he can just remnant it away. And yeah, he's just continuing to play the map really, really well. And from there, like, this means that VGJ are kind of forced into a corner. They're constantly having to worry about the lane equilibrium, and they're just out of options. They don't actually get to make any decisions. The decisions are made for them.
Yeah, and these heroes, another relocate mid. Spartan relocating to kill off creeps. He's taking a lot of damage.
I have no idea what that was. That might have even been a misclick. Like, let's be honest here. That made absolutely no sense.
I mean, if you're not going to use the relocate, whatever. He gets in there, gets a little bit of farm for himself.
No harm, no foul. But, yeah, still a bit of a head scratcher. We have a couple of heroes pushing out up top. I guess Midora's got to watch his mana pool a little bit here. He's still got 60 to spam up the Shukuchi, so...
This ain't looking good for Spartan. Unfortunately, doesn't have a relocate available, and with the gem on the Omni, well, he's going to tether to maybe next time. Wow. Still surviving. The sole survivor. There's the jump forward, aggressive.
Power and,
yeah.
Can they get, like, a return lasso on him? It looks like it.
Maybe. ROTK is still here, as is Fender and FY. It seems unlikely to actually get anything substantial. So, a collection of misadventures from the MouseSports team, but it's only the IO that goes down. It is for 50 seconds. That actually is going to open up the avenue for Roshan.
Definitely could happen here. Batrider's still in a pretty okay spot to contest, but Omni just finished up a side device, so he's got to pop the BKB early, and it's actually just already gone. Like, you want to go in for a snatch play, but the damage output between the bench, the PA, and yeah, also the presence of the Dark Lord from the Shadow Fiend, like, all of it just makes it such a quick rush and such a nice grab for the, in this case, the Shadow Fiend of the Aegis.
Well, it's a very farmed Omni Knight, and we've been talking about how it's hard for, the VGJ team to punish anybody from Mouse, but now you have Blink Hex from an Omni Knight. Like, this feels to me more and more like VGJ are possibly turning a corner. Would you agree, or do you think it's still going to be hard for them to punish the MouseSports split push?
I mean, it's going to be difficult, but they're getting tools to definitely do so. Like, they've got Blink Hex on RTK. His Midas has certainly paid off. Like, this is normal under normal circumstances, an Omni Knight would be nowhere near this farmed. But RTK is just in the bank, and now they've got a lot of tools. They have the Hex on the Omni Knight. They've got the Orchid, potentially Literal Bloodthorn for the Shadow Fiend. They've got the Abyssal on PA. The Ember Spray has to be a lot more afraid of how he's going to move. Like, he has a Lincoln Sphere, but that only is an answer to one of those three things.
Right. And in the meantime, Tree scouts out everybody from MouseSports. PA in the area. They're going to jump forward. There's the time lapse. Spartan gone again. And they have eyes on Madara.
Yeah, they just really weren't ready for that kind of...
They're going to keep going here. Madara trying to TP away. They get the swap back, and Madara's gone.
Wow, that's actually really unfortunate. They've just been playing so confidently and so far up throughout the past, like, 20, 30 minutes of the game, and now it's starting to be punished. The Batrider wasn't there to scout things out. They need Skylark to lead the charge and to kind of make sure that everywhere is safe and not warded, or in this case, tree-anted. It was on Fenrir that just set up a great opportunity. Finds 2 key kills.
Yeah, and now Weaver gone for 60 seconds. Granted, they still haven't really been able to push in these lanes at all. Thug has been doing a great job with the Octarine core, having Boots of Travel online. It's only at that 27-second cooldown, means that he can keep the lanes pressured. But mid is where the pressure is coming now, and now they need to find an answer and find it quick.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So he'll push bottom, but they're right up in the mid lane already. Just going to go ahead, repel up PA. Looking to dive as far as she can, trying to force a Weaver buyback, but also getting that glyph on the tier 3.
And in the meantime, Thug hitting the tier 3 tower down here in the bottom. We'll keep the eyes back and forth between these two, see if Thug can actually get anything, as he has decided to return. Now they've caught on to Spartan. Spartan going to drop. There is not an answer in the world, and with all of this gold, I was kind of wondering if he was thinking about going for a Ghost Scepter, but not having that defensive item that he needs.
Nah, I was kind of relying on the Glimmer Cape to bail him out multiple times. It worked, I think, 2 times this game that he was able to get away with Invis, but obviously it's just not a long-term solution. And it does get cleaned up just a bit too heavily. It's actually going to be E-Blade coming out for Rubik, so that maybe he can just throw it out onto an ally in need, no matter who the PA ends up going on.
Well, here we go. Down and bottom. Again, they had an idea that Thug might be here. Can they actually catch him and kill him off? ROTK does have that Blink Hex still there. There is the Lincolns from Ember, so they won't be able to punish the pushing out of creep waves. There's still, though, all these huge items. Bloodthorn on Freeze.
Eventually, they've got to be able to catch him, right? Like, all Fenrir has to do is just blink on top of him from the trees and get the bash started, and everything from there will be killed. Following it up, breaking the Lincolns, and getting one of those 3 or 4 different disables to follow it up. So I definitely think if Thug keeps playing like this, his time is numbered. But at least for now, yeah, they are down the mid lane. MouseSports really lacking in terms of the creep push there, and that's where they can be most punished.
Oh, man, they almost got it there, but Thug able to back out. He's revealed his positionings on Fenrir as he went for the bash, and that's the E-Blade done on the Rubik. I still don't know if they're really able to take these fights in any fashion, though. It's still so tough. As Skylark, he spots out Freeze down here. I don't think they can really go on this, though.
They definitely cannot. That's going to be a tier 2 down for free. He'll just TP through. But yeah, I definitely think that there's a world where these fights can be successful, but it comes down to Skylark just completely outplaying a vast majority of VGJ. He's got to get in there. He's got to pull somebody out of position, away from the Vengeful Spirit defensive swap, and away from the Omni Knight, who's going to be trying to just blink in and keep healing. So it's actually very difficult how they position these fights, and for the most part, it's just an easier answer to avoid 5v5 environment, which is pretty much why we're at this current state of the game. Mouse continue to avoid fights, even at Iraq's disadvantage, and they just continue to try to build themselves up to a point where they can actually do something convincing.
Well, 15 to 22. All of the tier 2 towers are down right now for VGJ. Currently, Mouse still holding on to one of their tier 2s, and looks like the objective is going to be to try and take down Freeze. Madara does have that MKB, but ROTK is here for the counter initiation, as to his FY. If they jump on this, the scan reveals that everybody is right behind him, so I don't expect Mouse to go on this. Instead, maybe try and find the backlines or just head out of there. Level 25 on Weaver, giving that added movement speed. They're wrapping around still.
This is so risky, though. I mean, this could actually cost them the game if they make the wrong move here. This element of surprise is great. Hitting the backline can be really strong, but it also could be suicidal.
Oh, ROTK, he has the gem. Madara's within range. If they spawn him out here, it would be a catastrophe. ROTK going to get jumped on. That's a good one to go with in the beginning, but they've already caught him. The Venge swaps him back out. They've lost Skylark. ROTK took him down. Spartan is going to be controlled as well and soon to be brought down. So they lose to VGJ with the answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a good response from the Vengeful Spirit. Saves the Omni, and without a BKB active, the Batrider is hopeless in that situation. So now they lose a couple more heroes, and VGJ just put on the offensive.
Well, there's a lot of ways to try and go for this fight right now, but unfortunately, a lot of them involve finding ROTK in the backline. They've already used the Batrider lasso. It's up again in 10 seconds, but immediately afterwards, you'd also have the FY swap to be available. Freeze trying to get dropped. Oh, they are going to be able to kill him. Madara, this is a hell of a lot of damage. Able to burst through him.
Yeah, able to finish him up just as Gretzky arrives with the BOTs.
All right, Skylark. Oh, he got swapped. No, he ended up getting the sheep stick. Skylark ends up falling. Oh, man, a little bit of a misplay there now, and Thug could be in trouble as well as Lincoln's pops. But a misplay by Skylark. The BKB did not come out, and he got hexed for it. I'm not sure. Maybe there was something going on where he was switching around his items. He's doing that right now. It looks like he must have misplaced where they were supposed to go.
I mean, that could definitely happen when you're just spamming a hotkey, and it turns out, like, 10 seconds later, you realize it wasn't the right hotkey at all. It's like, I hit that button, but no, no BKB comes out, and that just turns into another feed. Skylark was carrying the team on his shoulders throughout the first half of this game, but now really needs their help as he puts himself in a pretty bad position. Still, the damage, as you can see, was there. I mean, you get an overcharge, you get some Geminate out. This Weaver can put a lot of hurt into the Shadow Fiend if he gets the opportunity, but now you're going to see him building in towards like the Selkaros, and he's going to get a lot more tanky, and in general, he's just going to look to prevent that.
Oh my god, and look at aggressive. He's inside their base right now with the DD rune. Not at all afraid, and they're going to have a creep wave here in a second to start pushing down this tier 3 tower. It's going to be gone. Well, maybe the root there. There's going to be the Manta to take off the root. Thug looking for more. They're going to try and take this one. See if they can bring down aggressive. A lot of damage coming in. The swap keeping him alive from FY. ROTK pops the ulti. Guardian Angel keeping him alive for the moment. Madara turning his attention now onto FY. Seeing if they can find that kill. Aggressive jumps back in, but he's dropping low. He doesn't have an Aegis right now. Can they bring him down? A really good overgrowth coming out from Fenrir, but ROTK now, he's the one who's being controlled. Can they bring him down? Skylook is back into the fight. Does have a 4-step and a blink, trying to catch it and catching on to aggressive. They're pulling him back into the fight. ROTK almost dead, but they're still so freaking tanky. There's a lot of damage coming out from Madara, but it's not quite enough to kill off all of them, or is it? Freeze comes into this. The right clicks on the Madara. The Bloodthorn, he's gonna drop. That's 3 dead right now for MouseSports. They buy back on the Rubik, hoping to find something, but Thug just trying to run away. He's out of mana though, and a triple kill for Freeze as the big daddy SF comes in to clean up.
Man, it's actually the PA that got really unlucky. There were almost no crits in that offensive, but now they were able to at least drag it out long enough with the overgrowth and with Omnioid support to peel them back and to finally get the kills they were needing with that huge Bloodthorn from Freeze. Now going to be able to combo up on Ember, and that's
he's gone for 2 minutes. They take him down. Thug never stood a chance. There's far too much damage here. Madara just trying to run out, but I don't know if they have enough damage left in the tank without their Ember. Spartan goes down, and Madara hanging on for all he's worth. But can he kill off every person from the side of VGJ? I don't think so. Madara dropping, and they find that kill. Spartan, the lone player left, and he gets crit all to hell. Triple kill for aggressive to finish this one off as VGJ take game number 1 against Mouse.
MouseSports, they tried the rat game, they tried to extend it as long as they could, and it just finally got to a point where VGJ had enough of it. They had the tools they needed between the Hex, between the Blink Bash, between the Bloodthorn, and the Abyssal Blade. They were able to lock down these targets in a huge way, and very aggressive stance for VGJ. They knew what they were capable of with the Omni-Knight behind them, and they played their draft to what it was designed to do. MouseSports, they can play like mice, they can run around the map and eat some cheese here and there, but at the end of the day, they run into a mousetrap that's VGJ, and that is going to be bringing us to a game 2 with VGJ already 1-0 ahead.
And I mean, there is so many great